Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well. Everybody is having a great Thursday. As promised, we would be going live today, and I'm going live with Dr. Devdatta Mukherjee, and this is Hustling Muscles. I hope everybody is doing well. Let me see if I can add Dr. Mukherjee. I don't have a request from her. Let me send her a request, and yes, I have join us right now. So I hope everybody's liking to the. Good evening, Dr. Mukherjee. How are you doing this evening?
Hi,
Looking lovely as
good
usual.
evening.
Oh, I should say
Thank
the
you so
Pain
much.
Whisperer. That's the new name
Thank
I
you.
like to call her with, at least for in my case, and I'm sure with many other cases. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
So today we are again discussing a very interesting topic. We have already put it out, so most of the people know about it, and we are talking about stretching. Something I was making this video which I haven't yet to upload, and in that I was calculating it's been 20 years since I have been working out. I started working out in my 8th grade. That's the first time I hit the gym, and since then, but nobody has been able to drill it into my system that you have to stretch like you have done in the past month or year, since we have been working together and things like that. Stretches, that is something very important. I have understood the hard way. Explain to the audience out there, why do we stretch? What is the importance of stretching?
Okay. So, stretch, we all are aware of the word stretching and flexibility and mobility. So, what is a stretch? It basically increases the length of the muscle to its normal level. Now, we all have a sedentary lifestyle. We are all sitting for a very long duration. So, what we need to do is bring the muscle length, which is kept tight all day, to the normal level. Now, this has many benefits. First, it increases the range of motion of the joint. For example, if you are talking about biceps, so biceps crosses your shoulder as well as elbow joint. So when we are stretching the biceps, it improves the complete shoulder movement as well as you can open and close your elbow completely. So range of motion improves. Along with that, circulation to that muscle improves. So any injury, if it is there, it will heal faster. Secondly, your posture improves because tight muscles stretch out and you can sit correctly. Along with that, even if you're into some sort of sporting activities or running or you do any recreational sports, this improves your performance as well as reduces the chance of any injury. So there are multiple benefits of stretching. And this is what I used to keep telling you to get you to
Drilling
stretch.
it into my system, Prati, you have to stretch,
Yeah.
and trust me, that is what worked. If I am able to run today or perform my workouts in a better manner, it's because of the stretches and the way you've drilled it into my system. Okay, so while warming up, warm up is the very important part. Again, something which I learned from you guys. Warm up is a very important part of exercising. Anybody warms up. Even if a lot of people, I would use cricket as an example, if they see on-field interviews going on before, or before a match or before a toss, you'll see most of the players warming up, stretching and all that. How important is it for us to incorporate stretching in our warm-ups? How important is that warm-ups? And also, they say that it is very important to stretch every part, especially the part that you're we're going to work out on. So how important is that?
Okay. So warming up is nothing but increasing the core temperature of the body. Why do you need to do that? To prep your body to start with a workout. Now, just like a machine, for example, if you need to start your car, you cannot immediately start it and then start going, especially in the colder months. You will see that the car takes time to start. And if you're immediately trying to race it, it will be giving you jerks. The same way, if we are not warming up and if we are not stretching, then our movement will not be as smooth, or we can also have injuries. Okay. So we are just like any other machine. So what do we do as a warm up? As a warm up, whatever activity we are going to do, we try to do that particular activity at a slower speed. If you want to go forward with running, you can warm up at a relaxed pace with a brisk walking or a regular walking or a slight jog. Okay. So this will only increase your core temperature. But With running, you're using multiple muscles. You're using your calf, you're using your quads, that's front thigh, your back thigh, your glutes, your back, your shoulders, everything is getting. So how do you prep these muscles to be able to work? That is with dynamic stretches. Now, there is a lot of study, a lot of information out there. People keep thinking that no, stretching initially is not important. They need to understand where is this study coming from. The study says that static stretches in the beginning is not required. Static stretches means holding a stretch for a long time, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. That studies have shown reduced performance. But what I'm talking about is dynamic stretching. That should be a part of warm-up, because dynamic stretching moves the muscle or stretches the muscle for about a second and then bring it back to the same position. So you do 5 reps or 10 reps of this depending on which muscle is tight. Now understand the importance of this. Imagine we wake up, we are all stiff, right? And then we warm up, we are a little flexible. Now imagine lifting weight or doing any resistance exercise and your muscle is not even working at its maximum efficiency. Now that is what we are trying to hack with dynamic stretches to improve the efficiency of muscle.
That's a very important part, because when you say, when we suddenly wake up and things, whenever somebody says this to me, I immediately get Christian Bale in my mind, coming from The Dark Knight, where he gets up from the bed and starts with his push-ups. I tried doing that, but I remember my muscles going sore after that. So I realized I'm not a Christian
You
Bale.
need to warm up. You need to warm up and then you need to do a little dynamic stretching and get back to exercise.
Then
So you
I,
can't
I
immediately stretch when you wake up. So that's one thing.
okay. Now moving on. We have understood the warm-up stage of stretching. Now, they say stretching calms your muscles down. Okay. They say it's very important to cool down, and when you cool down, you again have to stretch. So, could you explain the people why is it so specific? Because see, I've seen a lot of athletes, even a lot of bodybuilding athletes, who are so particular after doing such heavy sets and everything, that they spend 15-20 minutes just to stretch their body properly and then go. This is what actually, surprises me, because you see them with more dedication, see you guys with more dedication. Why is it so important again to stretch when we come towards the end of a workout with a cool down?
Okay. So first of all, we need to reduce the core body temperature. That's why we go forward with the cool down. So cool down basically means reducing temperature. Along with that, we have worked a lot of muscles during our session. Okay. So these muscles are all pumped up and they're all tight and they are all contracted and they also lifted a lot of weight. Now we need the muscles to relax and we also need our body to relax. That is where stretching comes as part of the cool down also. Now, unlike the warm up where you can only do dynamic stretches, in your cool down, you can also include static stretches as well as dynamic stretches. Now, how does this help? Increasing the blood circulation to the required muscle and bringing it back to the regular length. Okay, you would have felt that whenever we are on our treadmill and we are walking fast, immediately when we stop, it's very hard for us to immediately come down, right? Or get off the treadmill, or even when we are doing any exercise, suppose we are doing biceps curls, and immediately after that, the muscle is so tight and sore and stiff. It is very important to stretch them out, bring them to the normal length again. Because see, we have to understand our aim of fitness is to be able to do our regular activities comfortably. That's the aim, to live a healthy life. So to get back to that life, now that's your marathon that you're going to be running, your 9 to 5 day, or you're cooking all day in the kitchen and taking care of the home. Now that's the marathon you're running. You need to stretch out after your workout to prep your muscles to be able to run that marathon. That is why it's so important to be a part of the cool down.
Well, I think that is a very, 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 very good thing that you shared with people. I think it's a very, very important part for them to understand about stretches. So that was something I think really amazing, and it's a lot of knowledge that you've given out there. Now, my question, before I come to my next question, my thing is there any particular time for stretches?
Okay, stretches actually can be done at any time of the day, other than when you immediately wake up in the morning, because your muscles are going to be very tight and you're also going to be a little dehydrated. Okay, so you need to walk up a little bit. Other than that, any time of the day stretches is good. In fact, this is what I keep advising all of my clients and all of the people who keep asking me, whoever has a sedentary life, especially sedentary life people, people who sit for many, many hours at a stretch, they need to get up and stretch. So you can break down your stretching to 5 to 10 minutes throughout the day. Like morning, you can give 5 to 10 minutes of stretching. Afternoon, you've sat for a long time, or you're just about to start with your lunch, or you've finished your lunch, because this is a very low intensity thing. So you can just do a little bit of stretching and get back to your work. So stretching, it can be done at any time of the day. But before workouts, try to do dynamic. After workout, you're free to do either static or dynamic according to your muscular requirement. So any time of the day is good.
So that's again very, very important, because I usually, when I get times towards the afternoon is when I try stretching, when I take a break from the laptop, to divert my mind. So I stretch a lot. I talk to my friends and I'll be stretching. So that's something I've learned from you. So that is why I wanted you to explain that to the people out there. Okay. Now, execution. We know our workouts have to be executed properly. Any plan has to be executed properly. How important is it to execute a proper stretch? Because most of the people, for them, this is a stretch. This is a stretch.
Yes.
How important is it? When you have to do a stretch, how important is the execution part in a stretch also?
Okay. So doing an incorrect stretch is worse than doing no stretching at all. This is what I keep telling, because that is how you get injured. Now, before starting with the stretch, you need to understand the goals of the stretch. Number one, it is to relax your body, and it is to improve the blood supply to all of the muscles. So what you need to do is first breathe comfortably whenever you're going forward with stretching. I see a lot of people holding breath, trying to finish off the stretch as soon as possible. That's not right. You need to go ahead with breathing comfortably, and you need to go ahead with the stretches slowly. So pace out your stretches so that you can do it comfortably. That is number one. Number two, stretches should always be pain free. Okay, that means that if you are feeling any kind of pain or an extreme sharp pull, any abnormal sensation, you might not be stretching the muscle correctly. So come back to your right position, check your posture, look into the mirror, get a feedback, and reduce the amount of stretch that you're doing or the length to which you are stretching. Okay. Now, if you're still feeling a pain, that means that there is something wrong. So with stretches, we can easily understand also if the muscle is just sore or if the muscle is actually injured. Over an injured muscle, you will find it very hard to do a stretch. So if you feel pain with a regular stretch, you should meet your physiotherapist or your sports medicine doctor. That's very, very important. Okay. Now, next is the position of the stretch. Now, I see a lot of people going forward just with like a full body stretch. Okay. So understand the difficulty with full body stretch. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying that imagine we are holding our hands up and going down and touching our toes. So whichever muscle was already weak or already pulled out, okay, that is stretching more. And whichever muscle was already tight, it's still tight only. Because we are working so many muscles together, the overworked is still overworking, the underworked is still underworking, which is where isolated stretches come. So in isolated stretch, what we need to do is start with the starting position. That means stabilize your body. For example, if you're doing a stretch for the biceps, your shoulder should not be up or down or moving. Your shoulder should be stable, and you can move and stretch the elbow and straighten the elbow. So this is how you do a proper stretch. If you're trying to stretch a lot of muscles together, you might get a complete full body relaxation, but you might still miss out on stretching your problem area. So this is what I often see with people, which is why calf remains tight, stomach remains tight, back remains weak. So we see a lot of this imbalance happening due to lack of isolated stretching. So that is really, really important.
Okay. Now my next question stands is very simple. Does stretching help us reduce the risk of muscle injury? Does it help in any way? If we are good at our stretches, do our stretches properly, does it impact muscle injury or help us not injuring our muscle?
Yes, absolutely. See, there is a lot of studies I know, and people also keep telling that no, stretching is not reducing any injury. But you need to understand, I'll give you a very simple example. If I open my door completely, I can run through it very easily. There is very less chance of me hitting myself on either of the side. Now imagine I can open the door fully, but I keep it only slightly ajar. Now I need to be so much more careful whenever I am running through the door. And there is a very high chance that I will injure myself while running. Either I will bump my shoulder or my leg, knee, one of the things. Now, why do you think? Because I gave myself a very tiny, small range to run through. The same thing happens with our muscle. Now, if my muscle can be stretched out completely like an elastic, it will be able to rebound or it will be able to contract completely. But if the muscle is tight and stiff, which happens because we are all sitting, like you, me, everybody. I don't know one person who doesn't sit throughout a certain period of time during the day. Okay. So the muscle remains short, and when you try to work with it, chances of injury are much higher, which is why it's so important. Like muscle is like an elastic. You need to keep it at a good optimal length for it to work properly. If it's a tight old elastic, it will be very brittle and it will break. That's the same thing happens with the muscle.
Whoa. Now, my next question I ask is, see, I'm aging. You can see the white hair slowly coming in, shave constantly. So, my question where I'm coming at is, the people like me aging, how important is it for us to stretch? Does it help us as we grow older, as we age? Should stretching become an important aspect of our life, or it should be an important part of our life?
Okay, so stretching and flexibility, the importance never comes down. And when we go further with age, it is even more important for us to stretch. So first of all, it increases the blood flow to the muscle, it energizes the muscle. Now again, I would like to give a small example. Now we have all had long flights and long car journeys. Now do you remember how it feels like sitting cramped up, and how it feels when we get out of the car and we want to stretch? It feels better, we feel relaxed, we feel that the pain has come down. Now imagine getting into a car journey for 60 years, 70 years continuously. That is what sedentary life is doing to us. We are constantly sitting, muscles are constantly cramped. Now, that many hours, that many years of just cramped sitting, imagine the kind of damage that has already happened to the muscle. And how do you avoid that damage? By moving the muscle constantly, moving it throughout the entire range, as well as increasing the blood flow there, and along with the stretching, going forward with some sort of physical activity. So this is very, very important to keep you agile. Also, another thing why this is important is most old people complain of falls because of loss of balance. Now, what is balance? Different muscles work on the body and keep the structure erect. When somebody pushes you also, the muscle contracts and keep it erect. So what happens to old people? Why are they not able to do it? Because the muscles are not that flexible or that elastic. So they cannot take a sudden load.
Hmm.
Now that is why teaching them stretching, teaching them stability, strength training is so, so important, especially when they age, to reduce the chances of fall, improve balance, as well as improve strength and health.
Wow, that is something, I would say I have something I've never heard before, especially because I was having this conversation the other day with my mother that, as people grow old, you have the tendency they fall and things like that. So, people usually think it's age, but the way you've put it, it's like, wow, okay, now we understand why there is something to it. So that was amazing. Now, before I go to my next question, I want to ask one thing. Now, since we were talking about a long car journey and things like that, see, there was a point in life where I was taking flights almost every day. Okay, there was a point, I think I was on a plane, I think every day, say going from Chennai to Delhi or Bangalore to Delhi, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, things like that. I would take the first flight and I'd take the next flight back because I'm going to a different destination. And these were long flights. Okay, and as you say, you get cramped. You actually get cramped.
Right.
If you're sitting in an aisle seat, it's fine. You can take a stroll and come back. Unless the arrow, you're not going to block the arrows. Half the time they are blocking with their huge trolleys and things like that. what advice can you give people like me? Because I remember there was almost a year or two of my life I spent so much times on flight. I used to come back so stiff, so sore, not knowing what to do. Can you give some solution? Because I know there are a lot of people, okay, now because the pandemic it's down, but yes, there are a lot of people who fly in and out every day. What advice do you give them?
Okay, I always give two advices to people who are doing long time travel. First is keep hydrating yourself. Dehydration is one of the major things that we are suffering from. Like when we actually come out of flights, we will feel that like all the glow from our skin is gone and like we look like really wrinkly and all of that. That is because of dehydration. That is number one. Number two is stretching or just moving your muscles. Okay, if you don't have to do any major stretch or like sit and stretch. I mean, we don't even have a lot of space in our economy seats, so just move around your hand and leg how much ever you can. Like it can be as simple as moving your neck up and down. Okay, a few repetitions, about 3 to 4 times side to side, moving your shoulders or rolling your shoulders, moving your fingers, opening your hands, moving your toes. I mean, not just this, but there is a very high risk, especially on long flights, of developing deep vein thrombosis or DVT, it is commonly known as. So one of the easiest way of preventing this is constantly moving the foot. So pedaling or ankle pedals, that is one of the most common exercises which we have been given for years. All of these are kind of sort of dynamic stretches which we are doing. And get up, walk around if you have the aisle empty. Otherwise, sit in your place, rotate your back, rotate your neck, roll your shoulders. Easy ways of being flexible and mobile. So when you get out of from your flight, you'll actually be feeling a lot better.
So, next time I hope I'm not sitting in the middle seat when I'm doing that. I best to get my eye. Still, if I get the middle seat also, let me try and see what people's reaction is. Actually, we should put a request to you. You should actually make a reel on this because your reels really reach out to people. We all enjoy watching it. So maybe the next reel should come from this. You can
Sure.
actually make a
Perfect. I'll do that.
thing for all of us out there to keep in mind. Okay, now moving on. Now, my next question is a little, I don't know, out of the bloom, a little different. What is the connection between mental stress? See, today's world, everything boils down to mental stress, your mind.
Correct.
What is the connection between mental stress, muscles, and stretching? Does it help us, or how important is it? Could you give us a little insight?
Okay. So what we need to first understand it is nothing is isolated in our body. Our physical body is related to our mental health, and mental health is related to the physical body. I'll give you an example for this. Whenever we are under a lot of stress, for example, our boss has just screamed at us or told us to get work or done, or it's the weekend and we have to still sit and do work. So we usually can't express it. Okay, so what do? We chew our stress. So there is the cheek muscles, okay, that is a masseter, one of the major muscles where we store stress. We clench our fingers, we clench our teeth, we keep the shoulders tight, we sit on our toes, like just the minute the work gets done, like we are ready to run. So all of the mental stress actually leads to physical changes in the body. Now imagine the entire day you are working. For example, you're called in for work on a Sunday and you really don't want to work. You had a lot of plans. So the entire day we are sitting in this stiff posture where we are not breathing. So there is no proper blood flow going to the muscles. So all of these things can, show its face whenever we are under any kind of stress. So like mental health affects the physical body, when we relax or release or do stretching, we increase the blood flow to the muscles. Along with that, we are going ahead with breathing as well. So the physical body's relaxation has a reduction in the stress component also, because otherwise it will become a vicious circle. We have stress, we will keep the muscles tight, that will increase the blood pressure, that will increase our stress, again the muscles will get tight. So you need to break this cycle. How? By physically relaxing your body. So I keep telling people, I used to keep telling you that you hunch and sit, so you have to keep your body straight, move your shoulders, move your neck, keep yourself flexible, relaxed, breathe. These are so important to keep the stress at a minimal level.
Okay. That's quite a bit of information. I think we should now have a new nickname for you, the knowledge of the ocean of knowledge.
So kind.
Okay, now moving on. Okay, what happens when we don't stretch? I never believed in stretching. When people would tell me, please stretch, I'm like, there are better things to do. I can't stretch. Okay, what happens when we don't stretch? How does that
So
harm us?
So stretching improves so many things. Okay, so imagine all of the benefits, and you will not be able to avail any benefit. Your joint range of motion, that is like the maximum movement that can happen in the joint, will be restricted. So you will find it difficult to do even basic activities, like suppose if you're working in the kitchen, reaching out an overhead drawer. Okay, so such simple things, or lifting weight. Imagine if your biceps are tight or your wrist muscles are tight, you will find it difficult to lift weight or even hold a glass. Like I have a lot of clients who come to me, they're all exercising, but they find it difficult to hold a particular position for a long period of time because the muscle is not even lengthening for that long time. So joint range of motion will be reduced. Your endurance, that means ability to be able to do a work for long duration, will reduce. Why? Muscle is an elastic. If you're not stretching it comfortably, it will not be contracting with the same efficacy. Okay, so your ability to hold a position will reduce. Okay, thirdly, your performance. If you are capable of doing 100% of the work, you will only be able to do 60 to 70% of the work, because after that the muscle will get tired. Because how long can the muscle remain contracted and tight? Okay, it needs to loosen up, it needs the blood flow. Okay, along with that, your chances of injury can increase. A simple example that I had given previously: imagine opening a door fully and running through it. Imagining open the door half and trying to run through it. Chances of injury are higher in the second. Why? Because range is less. Okay, so chances of injury will definitely be higher when we are going forward with that. Along with that, your relaxation, your stress. Like, I mean, during this pandemic year, now it's going to be 2 years of the pandemic, we have all been dealing with tremendous stress, and we're all stuck to the same position. The sedentary posture has, increased to like 8 hours, 9 hours, even 12 hours. I met somebody, one of my clients, he's working for 16 hours a day. So imagine the amount of time we are just keeping the body stiff. Now, if you are able to stretch out during these times, don't you think that your muscles will be relaxed? And when your muscles are relaxed, you will be relaxed. So, stretching has so many benefits. If you don't stretch, you will never be able to avail these.
I absolutely agree with you because I learned it the hard way. I remember my execution, especially for my leg workouts, have improved so
Correct.
much after I have incorporated these stretches. After my run has improved, my leg workout has improved. So I myself take the time out. Why? Because it gives me a better workout. So yes, so whatever the thing information you have given out there to the audience, it's value. And even as you say, during this pandemic, everybody has been sitting. I was on a desk job for the, I think, first 6-7 months of the pandemic. But I think since I had people like you, Gauri, everybody coaching me and all, I think my life was not as sedentary as it could have been. I think I somehow was, it's on the advice you take, on the advice you listen to people. Okay. Now, moving on. Stretches, there are so many types. If a layman like me puts stretches on, Google, you will have different, my research showed me there's static stretch. You've touched on that. There's something called active stretch. Okay, there's something called passive stretch. I think you touched on that also. And dynamic stretches, you explained to people a bit about it. And the next, I cannot pronounce it. I'm just going to call it by the short form, PNF. Okay, you can go ahead and do the honor of explaining that to the people. How does one differentiate between these stretches? How does one understand these stretches, and what stretches are for whom, and which stretches should a person like me or a common layman should do? Could you explain a little on that?
Sure. So let me first help you understand between active and passive stretch. What's the difference? So active stretch is when you are bringing about a stretch to your muscle with your physical activity or with your work. For example, if I raise my left hand, hold my right ear, and stretch my neck to the side, this is an active stretch. Now imagine if somebody else's hand or a band or some external force is helping me stretch, means I am not doing anything. Somebody else is passively doing my stretch. That is a passive stretch. So that is the simple difference between active and passive. Active when you're doing, passive when somebody else is doing. It could be a machine, it could be a band, it could be another person. Okay. Now coming to static, dynamic, and PNF. So static stretches, the name itself explains it. You hold the muscle in one position for a very long period of time. It could be 10 to 15 seconds, sometimes even 30 seconds or 60 seconds. Static stretches can be done. Now, static stretches, with the current research, it has shown that you should not be performing them in the beginning of the workout. Why? Because when we are stretching a muscle, imagine stretching an elastic, you're stretching the muscle for a long period of time. The muscle joins the bone with the help of something known as tendon. So where the tendon is joining the bone, it can lead to a lot of strain over that area and reduce performance over a period of time. So static stretches are avoided in the beginning of the workout. But if you are in some sort of sporting activities where you require a lot of flexibility, for example, if you're into gymnastics, you're into swimming, you are into running, so all of these things, you can go ahead with a static stretch post finishing your workout. That means in your cool down, you can do your static stretches. Now, what are dynamic stretches? The same as static stretches, but we are doing it faster. So if instead of holding for 10 seconds, I am just continuously moving my neck in this position for 5 to 10 reps and bringing it back to normal, I am pulling the muscle and stretching it just the right amount and not causing any overstrain and bringing it back to normal. So that is a dynamic stretch. Okay, dynamic stretches are very good to be performed in the beginning of the workout so that your muscles are prepped. So they can be done as part of your warm-up. Now, PNF, that is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Now, this stretch is usually done by a physiotherapist, but it has also been utilized in other areas because this is one of the most effective stretches. Now, this was usually done for all neuro rehabilitation clients, like clients who come with traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury. Okay, so what we are doing is we are constantly firing the neurons in functional patterns. Okay, so that is where the neuromuscular pattern is coming. The nerves give the information to the muscle and the muscle moves. So these kind of stretches have two parts. First is the muscles are also contracting in this along with the stretching. Okay, and it is being done actively by the client as well as passively by the physiotherapist. But because you constantly need a physiotherapist or a trainer to work with you for PNF, it is not very popular because you'll find it very hard to do it just by yourself. So PNF is part of physiotherapy in cases of injury or getting people back to their normal movements. If there has been a ligament injury or a neural injury, we usually go ahead with PNF. But otherwise, I would usually not suggest PNF for the general population. Dynamic stretches, active stretches can be quite comfortable for them.
So that's again quite a bit of information because I've always had a confusion on the different type of stretches, and I'm sure there were a lot of people out there who had this, and I think it's going to make a few things at least clearer for them. So I think that's very, very valid information that's come from you again. Okay. Now, my last question before I end the talk for today. What happens when we are performing these stretches in a wrong manner? Because why I want to ask this because I've learned stretches from you guys so I can understand stretches. But then I see people stretching at times where I get scared. I'm like, bhai, dhyan se haath mein aa jayega. It's like that when they pull the muscle absolutely towards, I'm like, oh, it'll come in his hand. Somebody go tell him.
Yeah,
So,
this is what I tell my clients also. Like, you don't have to pull it apart. You just have to pull. So it just reminded me that.
and stuff like that. I think they take it on the stretch itself, suddenly. So can you explain people what happens when you perform the stretch in a wrong manner or overdo it?
Okay, so again, coming to the point where muscles are like elastic. If you stretch an elastic too much, what happens? It will break. Okay, so muscles have a certain capacity to which it can take load. If you want to increase the capacity of the muscle, you need to slowly progress it. Like you don't just go to the gym first day you lift 50 kgs, the second day you don't lift 100 kgs, right? The same way, you should not be overstretching and overtraining. So, if you're in an activity which requires your flexibility to be very high, what you need to do is progress slowly and steadily and make sure that you're going forward with the right technique of stretching. Overstretching can lead to injury in the muscle, pain over the muscle, soreness, swelling, redness over that area. So, overstretching is to be avoided completely. Make sure that whenever you are stretching, it is to the right amount. How to know the right amount? You will feel a mild pull. Now, a lot of people know they think that the muscle should just like stretch out fully, like all of the years of tightness they want to get it on the first day. Now, that is not the right way to look at stretches. Remember, it is supposed to relax your body. If you feel that you're pulling too much, you're having pain, you're having any abnormal sensation, you're having a very severe pull, tightness, radiation, you're not doing it correctly. So reduce your intensity. Okay, understand your movement, try to do it in front of the mirror. Reduce the amount, like for example, if you're stretching the neck so much, this is an overstretch. So come back to the center, do half of what you were doing. You will get a mild pull, and that is when you will be stretching it correctly.
Fine. I think that is again valid for a lot of people. I hope a lot of people out there are to this, like, don't overdo the stretch. Don't try to, as she said, you cannot undo what you've not done for so many years in one shot. So you'll have to have patience on this. So, okay, we've had a lot of info today on stretches. As you said, we understand the importance, everything. As I was saying, you now can be known as the ocean of knowledge when it comes to all this. Now, towards the end, is there anything you would like to tell people on stretches or on anything? Any punchline for the end?
Uh, Yeah, what I would like to tell people is there is a lot of confusion on whether they should be stretching with their workouts or not, or which stretch to do when. So, whenever you're starting up with an exercise, or whenever you are going to the gym, you're starting with your workout, do a warm up and do dynamic stretches. That means don't hold your stretch for a long time. Okay, just move into the position and move out of the position within a few seconds. Okay, so that is a dynamic stretch. So you can do 5 to 10 reps depending on which muscle is tight for you. After finishing your workout, you can do either a dynamic stretch or a static stretch as part of cool down. And don't do your stretches the first thing early in the morning because that can immediately overstretch. As I told, muscles will be tight and dehydrated because you usually sleep in a cramped position, or would have slept on the hand throughout the night, or would have slept curled up. So all of these leads to a lot of stiffness and you wouldn't have had a lot of water also. So stiffness plus dehydration, you should not immediately get up and stretch. So warm up your body a little bit and then go forward with dynamic stretches. So these are the two things that I would want people to understand because people keep thinking that they need to stretch, but they do not know when and how or what to do.
Okay. So I think, guys, everybody's had a lot of information shared today. So we've had a great session. So before we wind up for today, we close the talk. A small thing from my side. A lot of people have been DMing me again that Pratik, you have transformed, you have lost weight. Help us, give us your workouts. What you did should work for us, guys. It doesn't work like that. Okay, you cannot do what I did because everybody is different. Okay, everybody works differently, everybody is different. Even I had fitness experts like Dr. Mukherjee, like Gauri, all of them got together and they all helped me reach my goal, or rather still taking me there. I'm coached by them, guys. In very simple, in a nutshell, what I can tell you people out there is, God forbid, if somebody gets cancer, you don't go to a cancer survivor for treatment. You go to a cancer specialist. I am a survivor. I can only motivate you. I can put you on to the fitness experts is what I do today through Fitness Performance India. What we do today through Fitness Performance India, we connect you to some of the best people, some of the most experienced, trainers, fitness experts, nutritionists, and all that. So that is the best I can do for you. You have a fitness requirement, DM me, but I'll put you on to experts. I am not there to give anybody advice because honestly, if today why I do these talk shows and things like that is so that you know what is the knowledge these experts are coming with, how much education, how much they have studied this for years and years and years. That's what makes them so good. That's what makes their workout so effective. So this is what I would end the talk with. I hope, Dr. Mukherjee, I'm not wrong. I've not said something wrong, because you're very
No, no,
silent.
it's very important to get the right direction because we see people following a lot of myths which are not really correct and a lot of trends online. And you really, if it's your body, it's like the only thing that you have in this world. It's the most important thing, and you cannot take it lightly. You need to go ahead with proper training, proper nutrition, proper guidance with somebody who is, who has studied enough, who is capable of giving you that information. So I would suggest don't take your body lightly. Don't go ahead with trends and fad diets and all of that. Get the proper guidance.
Yeah, and whoever thinks I'm starving and not eating, I hope you guys have seen my reel today. I usually never put up an eating reel. So I hope you all
Yeah,
have seen.
I started craving for South Indian food after that. Like, I need to go and get my dosa now.
So yeah, in Bangalore, you have some amazing options. So yeah,
Yeah.
you have some amazing options like Ali Mane and places like that. That was my personal favorite always. So anyway, this was a great and amazing talk. I hope you get some nice, I would say go for Davangiri Benne Dose. That is my personal
Yeah,
favorite.
I love that.
So
Yes, same here.
there's dosa. Okay, now I'm getting hungry again. I better go fix myself a snack. So, anyways, thank you so much, Dr. Mukherjee, for your time, for your
Thank you
valuable.
so much.
Okay, so we would be catching up again next week with the different topics. So the Pain Whisperer, the Ocean of Knowledge, would be again joining us next week. So guys, stay tuned. And I would also be having a session with Gauri. I think you guys have seen the practice session that we had. We were comparing Greek yogurt and mishti doi. So let's see, you guys can catch that in the coming week. So thank you again. Thank you so much for your valuable input and the
Thank you.
info.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you, guys. I hope everybody enjoys watching this video and do like it and do share it. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.